Hi friends, it's Victor Costa, and welcome to the Daily Lift. I hope you're having an outstanding day, and I hope today's podcast makes it even better for you. Let me ask you a question. Are you a good problem solver, or do you have a hard time dealing with problems? Everything from minor problems like your key not working in your lock very well, to a clogged toilet or a clogged sink, something mechanical, to dealing with services that you avail yourself of, like the phone company or the cable company, and having an error or a problem with them on your bill, to dealing with more significant things like problems or issues with your spouse or significant other. Are you a good problem solver, or do you have a hard time coming to a harmonious resolution that feels good for you and everyone else in a swift and efficient manner? Because to me, that's what problem solving is: coming to a harmonious outcome in a swift and efficient manner that feels good for you and everyone else around you. But a lot of us, we would like to have that. That is our intention most of the time, but we have a really challenging time getting to that. And that's because a lot of us are not good problem solvers. And why is that? That's because a lot of us have modeled the behavior that we have seen from our child rearing or our parenting, to model the behavior of someone who was very influential in our lives. So when you think of how you approach problems, whether you get stressed immediately, or your first idea is to lash out, or it's to get angry, think about that. Think about where that comes from, because most of the time when you get down to it, the problem is not very major, and a cool head would probably be one of the better skills to have when encountered with the problem. So when we think of that, we think of where does that come from, the anxiety or stress that's associated with having a problem that still needs to be solved. And I'm reminded of the Abraham Maslow quote that suggests that when the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. So if anger is typically how you go around handling problems, all the problems start to look the same because you only have one tool to handle all of the problems with. Whereas some problems may be settled with, yes, a heightened level of intensity to get your point across. But most of the time, problems have to be solved with a dissection of what the problem really is, and a idea and the concepts of how to come to a resolution quickly. And that involves listening to the party that you have a problem with, or if it's a mechanical issue, to understand it for what it is. We have wonderful tools these days to be able to understand our issues better. You can simply Google a clogged toilet, or you can Google a clogged sink, or you can Google how to get my key to work in the door better. These things are easy, but we forget them because we can see and feel that influential person in our lives coming in to us, or almost embodying us. I've had it myself. I have felt, sort of saying things that in the midst of a problem that felt as though there was a puppet, that I was a puppet, that some hand was reaching into me doing the talking for me. And then when I really thought about it and dissected it, it was really more of the words of those who were influential in my life. And I wouldn't say that everybody was, they weren't equipped with the same tools. The problem seemed extremely big at the time. And we can get into the loop of handling minor problems with the same amount of anxiety and stress that we would have with a major issue. And you may know people like that in your life, and you may be a person like that in your life. So I wanted to remind you of that quote, that when the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. So this conversation today is about broadening your toolkit to remind you that you have choices and how you approach things and how you handle things. And if you feel like I have felt in the past, where you hear the words coming out of your mouth, but they almost don't feel connected to the issue. Think about that for a minute. Pause for a minute and think about, where is that coming from? Who in my life was so influential that they are still talking through my mouth? And when you realize that, you suddenly maybe laugh a little bit about it. I know I do. And you settle back down and you're able to look at the problem from a individual or personal perspective, rather than through the eyes of your historical influence. So remember, when the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail, but you don't have to have that. You can broaden your toolkit by, first of all, when you encounter a problem, relax, count to 10. Make sure you are connected to what you're saying about the issue. If it's something mechanical and you're getting upset about it, think in your past about who would get upset when something very simple or minor would happen, and laugh and chuckle and maybe have a remembrance of that person. And then Google how to fix the problem, or tackle the problem yourself, or get invested in it to where it becomes a little bit of a challenge and a little bit of an exciting thing that you want to accomplish or overcome, rather than getting immediately upset. So you can become an excellent problem solver. Again, I believe that a good problem solver looks for a harmonious conclusion that feels good and is efficient and swift, right? So let's refocus, realign, recognize that we can be remarkable problem solvers, that most of the time when we get upset, it's because we want to solve the problem, so the intention is there, but the emotion just kind of comes up. It comes out of somewhere. And so let's pause and recognize where that emotion is coming from, and really focus on the intent of getting the problem solved, and making that a challenge rather than challenging. So let's broaden our toolkit. We can take a deep breath when something happens. We can laugh a little bit about it, and it will make your day go by a hell of a lot easier. And if you're like me, where you feel your history coming through your mouth and talking for you, it's something to recognize, and just maybe take a pause and remember that person fondly, and then get back into your own voice and your individual soul perspective. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope it made sense to you. I look forward to connecting with you again. This is Victor Costa signing off for the Daily Lift. Please be well.